Habitudes is probably one of my favorite series of books, okay, because they're little devotions based off of a single picture. They're super cool. In fact, if you know who Pastor Amos is, I think everyone here does. Maybe, do you know Pastor Amos? He used to be our executive pastor, but he's good friends with Dr. Tim Elmore, and you can actually go to Amazon and you'll find a habitude centered around Greeley. It's a habitude book made for Greeley. This one's not the Greeley one. These are habitudes, but Dr. Tim Elmore made a habitudes book for the city of Greeley, the oldest city. And it's different pictures that he captured in our city when he was working with Roy Otto and Pastor Amos. So that's pretty crazy, right? I totally plugged that into my class last trimester with future cohort advisors. I'm like, well, we have our own book, so that was pretty cool. So you're going to be hearing a lot of habitudes from me during this chapel, but this is a very practical chapel. This is where we're going to help each other grow. We're going to go over some practical skills that we can all gain and develop to be strong leaders. Okay, so I definitely want to start off with worship, and just, it doesn't matter what we're going through, we can just all come together and worship, so you guys are doing an incredible job. Today's picture is a gorilla. Everyone knows what a big gorilla looks like, right? Okay, let me read to you what Dr. Tim Elmore has to glean from a gorilla. No matter how big or impossible the task, leaders find a way to get the job done. Their passion helps them to be creative, and their persistence enables them to finish what they start, whatever it takes. Dang, okay. Do you ever get asked to do things that just seem impossible? Whole time, right? My good friend David likes to tell us about an unusual assignment he once got on his job. During college, he worked at a company that produces commercials for big-name companies. As you can imagine, photo shoots can call for the use of all kinds of props. So I'll flip it so you guys can see. David's boss called him one day during class. They were going to do a photo shoot for a truck ad in Hawaii, and they needed a gorilla. David's task was to locate a gorilla and figure out how to get it to Hawaii. He had no gorilla experience, and unfortunately, the book How to Locate and Transport a Gorilla for Dummies had never been published. David spent the entire day on the phone, and it's not often that you hear a classmate saying, "I need a silverback gorilla." Ultimately, David made contact with the animal trainer at Michael Jackson's personal zoo. This man knew how to transport apes. Finally, David got some answers. He hit a financial wall when he learned how expensive it is to transport a gorilla by plane. Not only would a private plane need to be hired, but they also needed to hire a training crew. Who knew you couldn't fly a gorilla in economy class? David discovered helicopters to be more cost-effective. Before long, David's persistence paid off, and he was able to call his boss with all of the answers. Despite the difficult task and dead ends he hit along the way, David figured out how to get a gorilla to Hawaii. Pretty interesting, right? All right. This is a picture of what great leaders confront on a regular basis. David's challenge was one that he had never faced before. He was able to still get the job done. He built the bridge, and he crossed it. Finding gorillas wasn't on David's job description, but he had never complained that it was someone else's job. He just smiled and got creative. By definition, leaders will take their teams to new territory. They don't just maintain the status quo. Because the territory is new, there's no protocol. There's no guide telling you what to do next. Sometimes, leaders have to feel your way around a pitch-black cave with your hands. You can't always tell where you land and where you take the next step, but the sooner or later, the light will come at the end of the cave. David had to start off with guessing when he made his first call. Eventually, the phone calls led to websites, led to light on his path. As a leader, you have to start somewhere and move forward. But once you start, make sure you finish. According to the rules of baseball, You have to leave the batter's box after your third strike. There's no such rule in the game of life. Attempting to complete a task, you may quickly reach your third strike. You may go from one dead end to another while attempting to find your gorilla. If you're smart, though, you'll continue to swing until you finally hit a grand slam. The game isn't over until you step out of the batter's box. As leaders, once we step into the box, you need to keep swinging. Sometimes that will mean swinging at a pitch that looks impossible to hit. But it may also mean being surprised when you nick a curveball and you get to first base. If a pitch has any potential to provide you with answers, swing at it. Some of us leave the batter's box prematurely because we're either tired of striking out, we're tired of only getting to first base. Whatever the discouragement may be, we're the ones who take ourselves out. God never takes us out of the batter's box once he puts us in. That's pretty deep to think. You know what I actually thought of when you guys were singing, "Who can stop the Lord Almighty?" Who can stop? You can stop. You're the only one who can stop. God's not going to stop himself. And he's surely not going to send someone along the way to discourage you. That's not of God. So you're the only one who can stop what God has started in you. You know that verse we're going to share it on Sunday, what God started in you, he's going to complete. That's a promise. He's going to finish whatever he started in you. Whatever he called you to do, whatever he's equipped you or what he's equipping you for, you're the only one who can stop the process. You're the only one who will take yourself out of the batter's box. Hamilton Wright said, "Don't worry about opposition. Remember, a kite rises against the wind, not with the wind." We need to approach challenges with the same mindset. At first, it may seem like a hindrance, but in the end, the wind is what allows the kite to soar and dip gracefully across the sky. Without the wind, the beauty with the kite is not revealed. Face the challenge head on with passion and allow it to help you soar. Remember, no one rises to meet low expectations. We don't rise for no occasion. We rise for the occasion, right? These are pretty deep thoughts, nuggets. At times, you will fail in attempting to a gorilla-sized task. Failure is a part of life. Giving up, however, isn't. Just ask R.H. Macy. He failed 7 times before his store in New York caught on. Novelist John Creasy received 753 rejection slips before he published the first of his 564 books. Thomas Edison was thrown out of school in the early grades when the teachers decided he couldn't do the work. And when Bob Dylan performed at a high school talent show, his classmates booed him off the stage. Eventually, these people were all successful because they didn't give up when they failed. Gorillas in Hawaii. This habitude is about being proactive, being passionate, and being persistent. The next time you're assigned an impossible task, remember the words painted above the doorway to the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room. Whatever it takes. I don't like the Steelers, but I like that. Right? Whatever it takes. So you got to think gorilla. We're going into gorilla mode this trimester. It's about being proactive, it's about being passionate, and it's about being persistent. Each of you in your own capacity are faced with an impossible task. You just got dumped probably at least 6 syllabi. 4 classes, 2 practicums. Holy, you're like, oh my God. Like you have this sense of like, I think I'm going to throw up. I need to leave. I need to walk out of class for a minute, right? Yeah, you have like 10 syllabus. So I get it. There's an impossible gorilla-seeking task in front of you this spring trimester. And that doesn't even have to do anything with like character development or personal development, your family, your relationships, your spiritual development. This is just pure academics that already has some of you guys ready to walk out of the batter's cage. Isn't that crazy? How something has the potential to get you out of the game. You're the only one who's going to stop what God has started. So, going back to a very practical chapel, we're going to be spending Thursdays together going over Development skills, life skills. How can we make you guys sharp? What do we need? What are tools that we need to help make us better? When you see a foreman or you see a construction worker, if you were to ask Brother Tony, hey, what do you do when you leave to site? You already know he makes sure his truck has his tools. He makes sure around his waist he has the stuff that he needs. I know I'm going to need my pencil. I know I'm going to need my measuring tape. I know I need my hammer. Like, these are tools that I need to have. I bought them. I saved up for them. And the really good tools are super expensive. They're not like little $20 tools. This measuring tape is a good measuring tape. It actually puts a little bit of chalk on the wall where I'm measuring. Like, they're expensive tools. But he worked for them. Anything that you work for, you better count it on your belt. Because you worked your butt off for it. It's a sharp tool. But nothing good is going to come to those who don't do nothing. Good things come to those who work their butt off. Right? That whole good things come to those who wait. That's like out of context with the be still. That's not be lazy and know that God is there. It's just like be still. And the stillness is when you seek, you fast, you trust, you pray, you worship, you praise, right? So it takes work. To get to where you each need to be and want to be, it's going to take work. But work can also come with preparing. If you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. So we're going to plan to succeed. Cool? So go ahead and grab out your syllabi. I know some of you guys wait till the last minute to print out your stuff. And that's why we're having a chapel like this, time management. Because we're going to learn not to do that anymore. So grab a calendar. Thanks, Steve. Get out your highlighters, get out your pens. And we are going to start packing our calendar with everything that is expected of us.